when Sam Walton was at the helm, even for Walmart, it was all about connection. It was all about relationships. For him, the success came because as they grew from being a small town retailer who became a small town discount store, who became a regional discount chain, who by his death were the largest retailer on earth.
Mm-hmm.
They never stopped focusing on the relationship and the mutual alignment between them and the associates that worked at the store, all the way down to the individual person who was standing at a cash register. Their interest was Walmart's interest. And as long as he was at the helm, that was the case. And it created this glue among this company that was employing tens of thousands of people that gave them a culture that allowed them to grow and serve and not lose what they were about.
Welcome back. We're talking today, hopefully about a focused conversation about education, and and the need for education as a distributor, as a manufacturer, as a marketer, as a salesperson. I think everybody could benefit from focusing more on education and use that as a way to create demand for their product or their company or whatever it may be. And so I wanted to start off with a couple of questions for you to see just where, if you know some of these answers. I just wrote down some facts. So I'm going to try and turn them into questions. So question number one is, what percent of your brain would you guess is made out of fat?
Uh, 15%.
60%. That one
60?
like blew me away. 60% of your brain is fat.
Your brain was like 70 or 80% water. I didn't know
that. That blew me away when I read
Does that exclude the water? I'm very interested. We're not looking it up. We're not looking it up.
Go to
I'll do this on my own time. Okay. 60% fat. 60, okay.
Yeah. So question number two is, at what age does your spinal cord stop growing?
25.
4 years old.
Wow.
Isn't that insane? Okay, here is one that I don't know if you'd be able to even answer this. So a piece of brain tissue, so like if you think of like a piece of your brain tissue that's the size of a grain of sand, so super tiny, how many neurons do you think is inside of that?
1 million.
100,000 neurons and 1 billion synapses.
Wow.
So just some insane, like, random things I saw at the brain. All that to say, we're talking about education. Like, I thought that was just some interesting
I
facts
thought I might know something off this.
Yeah,
I missed the mark so far. I'm not even sure we should include it in the episode.
Yeah, there we go. But all that to say, we are talking about not necessarily just the brain, but about education. And so yeah, I guess I wanted to start off with a question for you is, as far as like education goes for customers, is where do you stand on the concept of like trade secrets of, yeah, I've got something held in that I'm not going to let anybody else know because that's our trade secret, versus I want to tell everybody everything. But there's probably somewhere in the middle. Where do you feel like you typically land on that concept?
You know, I think it's definitely there's a spectrum there. I don't believe in focusing on trade secrets, especially in businesses where expertise is what's being sold. The caveat to that is, while I believe that all information should be freely given, as an expert, we have to meter and modulate how we deliver it.
Mhm.
As in,
So, yeah.
as in, if we were to get super nerdy on marketing, would that be beneficial to the people that do business with my agency? Probably not,
Mhm.
right? It would be like, it would sound like I'm trying to be smarter than I am. When I start using a lot of jargon, a lot of nomenclature, a lot of what abbreviations is not the right word.
Acronyms.
Acronyms.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the more of that I do, the less relatable I am and the less effective I am. So while I don't think any of that should be hidden, I do think that we need to tailor how we share the information to make it easy and digestible for the audience that we're speaking to. So I've got a lot of thoughts on like the hows and what's of education, but yeah,
Mhm.
that's I'm not going to continue my answer. I'm stopping.
Yeah, I think I think you and I probably agree a lot on this. My general belief is, one, there's nothing new under the sun, and two, if someone wants to figure it out hard enough, they'll figure it out. And so I think that goes for like traditional education of for like a distributor and manufacturer. If they want to host a class and teach how to do something, or like we talk a lot about the pressure washing world, like, hey, I'm going to host a class on how to clean a roof and I'm going to charge this amount of money for it, and if you don't pay the money, I'm not going to tell you how to do it. I don't really believe that's an effective way to educate people or to even promote your own business. And then the same side on the manufacturing side, like, hey, I've got this, even if I've got this like special chemical that our chemist made, in that we're not going to tell anybody else how it's made. If another company wants to figure it out, they'll figure it out. Like, there are machines where you can take a product and you pour it in a little like beaker or whatever, and you stick it in the machine, and it heats it up and it releases all the gases, and the machine like smells what's coming off, and it tells you like, this is this percent, and you can have a full like lineup, a full recipe for that product in like 30 minutes. And so there's really no, I don't really believe there's like such thing as a trade secret. I think there's certainly some things that are learned with time and learn with like hands-on, but I have always been a firm believer in, let me just teach everything to everyone, and I think it only benefits us to do it in a way that's not a sales pitch to, and what that does is it builds trust and it builds community, and it brings people in, so that when you do have something to sell or when they are looking to buy, then they're ready to purchase from you.
Yeah, I think you're 100% right in all of this. You don't really have any secrets. And I think it feels good for us to think that we have all these proprietary things that give us an advantage. And the truth is one, we really don't of any value. But the more important thing is they don't actually have a lot to do with the business outcomes that you want, which is the important thing. So like the the advantage to trying to keep your trade secrets is zero. Or not zero, it's very low,
Mm-hmm.
right? Maybe you keep a few things from some people, right? That could be used in a competitive aspect, maybe. But the disadvantages are very high because inside of those trade secrets, when you share them, you unlock connection, you unlock goodwill, you unlock authority, you unlock subject matter expertise
Mm-hmm.
in the minds of the people that you share it with. And that has a lot of value in the marketplace.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I think of one. Hopefully, I'm not going to get in hot water over this one. But so at
Do you
my
think
last
do you think
company,
they're watching? I hope they're watching.
I don't think
I'd
that.
be so
Yeah,
flattered if the company you used to work for is paying attention to what you're doing. You should be so flattered if that's the case.
yeah,
We'll take it down. We'll take it down, Ryan, if we get in
yeah.
trouble. It's
There we
easier to
go.
ask for forgiveness than permission. Go
And,
on.
and I mean, I don't think this is a really big secret. So one of the products that we made, one of the like chemicals we put out was uh, a bleach neutralizer. So
Mhm,
guys who clean roofs use this. If they
mhm,
spray a bunch of bleach on a roof and it ends up dripping down on the plants, they'll spray a bleach neutralizer out to
mhm.
make sure it doesn't kill plants or kill grass or cause problems you don't want it to cause. So I had a lot of people come up to me over the last few years who'd say like, "Hey, like, can you tell me like what makes your bleach neutralizer different from these other? There's probably 4 or 5 other bleach neutralizers on the market. It's like, hey, how is yours different? What makes it different?" And my response every time was like, "Hey, it's exactly the same thing. Like, it's a product called sodium thiosulfate. It is like you can buy it on Amazon in a powder form. You mix it with water. You have the exact same product. Now, the problem comes in of knowing like, hey, here's the right mixtures and here's the strengths and what you need to dilute certain amounts of bleach. And there's certainly science behind it, but I every time someone would ask me about it, I'd say, hey, there's like 3 or 4 products on the market that are exactly the same. Find the cheapest one and buy it. Like that's probably a terrible thing for me to say as like someone who's trying to like sell this product, but like that was my response every time. Is like this brand, this brand, this brand, our brand, they're the exact same thing, the exact same chemical inside of it, because that's just what it is. That is the product that performs best for neutralizing bleach. So
Mhm.
find the best one, go for it. I don't care if you buy ours or not. But I think that does a couple of things. Is one, it like they may not buy my product right then, but they're certainly more likely to come back for something else that they need. If they can find the bleach neutralizer somewhere cheaper, go for it. But you know what? Now I'm a trusted source. So when they want something different, or maybe they want a machine, or maybe they want a certain soap, or whatever it may be, then they'd be coming to me because, hey, I can trust this guy because he's not just trying to like push his product and say it's somehow magically different than everything else when it's the same thing. And so I think that was kind of my view on how I did a lot of education. Was it's kind of like counterintuitive, right? Of not pushing a sale will actually drive sales a lot more. And you would think like, no, I need to be putting my product out there. I need to be making sure that in every sales pitch I talk about how our product is so much better and so much different. But I can't tell you how many times someone would say, "Hey, I'm coming to do this type of job. I need a machine. Will yours handle it?" And I'll be like, "No, don't buy our machine. Here's another distributor that I know. They sell a different machine. It has a different purpose. You should go talk to them. Here's the salesperson's number. I'm good friends with them. I've done shows with
Yeah.
them. Like, here is whoever at X distributor." And what happens is then I'm now seen as not only the guy who's not trying to just push my equipment on whoever. I am now like a trusted source of information. And now when they do need something that I can offer that's a better suit for them, they're going to come to me instead of them buying my equipment and coming back a month later saying, "Hey, this didn't work. This didn't hold up to what I needed to do. I need my money back," or whatever the problem is. It's like, well, it wasn't designed for what you're doing in the first place. And I'm not going to try and sell something to somebody that doesn't generally need it.
It's amazing to me that we would even have to talk about that having, because what I hear is integrity,
Mm-hmm.
that having integrity in sales would be something that makes you stand out. I
Yeah.
think that's a shame all by itself.
Mm-hmm.
But to your point, what you find out, and kind of talking about education, talking about trade secrets, talking about all of this, is what is it that you and whoever's listening to this believe makes people do business with you, and write those things down. Make a list of 3, maybe 5
Mm-hmm.
things that make people do business with you. And I'm guessing that on that list, if you're honest with yourself, with the feedback you've gotten to this point, that you probably wouldn't include because I'm the best. And my next challenge to you is call up your 5 best customers and ask them. And none of them are going to say, well, you're the best.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure of it. That's not why we do business with each other. And so we have this belief that for some reason in our sales and marketing that we need to give our pitch on why we're the best or why we have the longest list of features or, you know, I just gave a talk this weekend to a group of home inspectors. And we were talking about this, and it's like we're talking about why you can't on your website, why it's totally fruitless to think that putting "we do the best home inspection"
Mm-hmm.
is to put on your website, because you know what all your competitors say, or you know what they all say when somebody calls?
Yeah.
We do the best home inspection.
Yeah.
We're the most
Pacific
thorough. We're the
Northwest.
most thorough. We,
Yeah.
and it's like that doesn't drive business. People don't do business with you, but if they didn't think that you didn't do a good job with what you do, whether it's a service or your product or whatever it is, if they didn't believe there was legitimacy in it, you wouldn't even be in the conversation of something they would be considering buying.
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't even be in the running, right? You don't even get in the list of things I'm considering. If I think I'm not sure whether this is total garbage, then you just get weeded out. So that becomes, the buy-in, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I hate this term because it's getting thrown around so much these days, and I hate to just be a follower of terms, but hear the term table stakes thrown around. Having a product that is worthwhile is table
Mm-hmm.
stakes. Having a service that does what you promise is table stakes. People are motivated to do business with you for a variety of other reasons. And so this goes back to education. And so when we think about like holding in our trade secrets, right? It's not the fact that I possess trade secrets or that I'm going to give them to my competitors that will give them an advantage over me. Because your customer doesn't care. That's not why they call you. And if they find out someone else knows your methods, they're not going to immediately switch from you. They're
Mm-hmm.
doing business with you for a variety of other psychological triggers and reasons. And so I think that if we don't understand our customers, we start to fall into these traps that are a total waste of time. I mean, that's just, and I know that's a very like broad way to say it, and we can talk about it very specifically if you want to, but I think that that's the thing is like, it comes from a total lack of understanding about what motivates people to act or to purchase things.
Yeah, no, I certainly agree. I think if uh, so, would you? So, yeah, here's the question for you then. Would you say that companies should take that language off their websites? Who say like Seattle's best carpet cleaner, see like Seattle's best whatever? Like, is that just a waste of time, or does it still have a purpose on a company's website?
When we look at any advertising, and I think a website qualifies as a form of advertising.
Mm-hmm.
You're making things about your business known. Whether we're on social media or we're on a website or we're on the radio or we're on the television, the attention span of the person that has visited is very short. We
Mm-hmm.
have a very limited amount of space and bandwidth that they're going to give us, even when they go to your website. I would choose wisely what it is I would want to communicate with them in any of those platforms. And that's the danger of like the content that you and I are making right here,
Mm-hmm.
is that to listen to the whole thing, we are assuming that someone's giving us a lot of their attention. And, I think we've talked a lot about this. The real value here is that we can take this and it becomes an effective and streamlined way to break this down into bite-sized pieces. We don't break it down into bite-sized pieces for the heck of it or because that's what the platforms accept. We break it down into bite-sized pieces because we know that most people are not going to digest 30 or 45 minutes or an hour of our conversation.
Yeah.
And yet when we do and to go back to your question, when we have a website, we indiscriminately put information on it as if we have all the time in the world and all the attention in the world to convey to them as much as we want about any subject that we want. So would I put that language on there? No. Is it bad language? No. But I would choose something better. In fact, you'd be better to say we're the biggest carpet
Hmm.
cleaner in Seattle, because that
Yeah.
actually does matter to some people.
Yeah.
I like dealing with large reputable companies. We have locations within 2 miles. We do appointments next day. There's a ton of deeper meaning in those types of claims, right?
Hmm.
We get so many 5-star ratings. Like, all of that has value, right? It builds authority. It tells you a little bit more about the company. But saying we're the best is just an empty phrase, whether it's put on a website. And I just wouldn't waste people's time there.
Yeah. I actually, that's funny. I have a couple stats on here. So the average time someone spends on a website or any specific web page is 10 to 20 seconds.
So is that what you want
And
them to read in 10 seconds? You have 10 seconds of their
right.
time and you want them to read that we're the best.
Yeah. No,
Says
nobody is,
who?
nope. Yeah. Nobody is going to a website. Like, let's talk about carpet cleaners. Like, nobody's looking for a carpet cleaner, goes to a website and be like, oh, wait, no, they're the best in Seattle. Yeah. Let me choose them. Like, that doesn't happen. That's not like, oh, they say they're the best. Yeah. Okay. I got to choose them. And the other thing you mentioned was videos. Like you said with this video, the average length that someone will watch a video online is 2.7 minutes. So like
They wouldn't
people's
have even heard that nugget. We're 20
yeah,
minutes into this
yeah,
conversation.
exactly. And so I think there's a way you can do it. And I think you and I have also talked about like social media posts, like almost so what Halloween's coming up or name a holiday is coming up and it's 4th of July, it is Christmas, it is whatever, you will inevitably see almost every single distributor, manufacturer, service company, contractor have some sort of post. Happy 4th of July and a bunch of fireworks, or
You know,
Christmas is here. Like,
you know how, like, some businesses, and I've never worked in the corporate environment, but you know
mm-hmm,
how some businesses will have like casual Friday.
mm-hmm,
It's like a day of the week where you get to, it's easy. It's like easy day. It's like my son
mm-hmm,
has days where they do early dismissal and pizza lunch,
mm-hmm,
right? It's like
yeah,
today is a day where I only have to teach as a teacher for a half a day. The cafeteria doesn't have to open. They just order in pizza. It's like everybody gets the easy button. I think
mm-hmm,
holidays are like the easy button for social media managers. They're like, I
yeah.
don't have to come
I
up with
got the
anything clever or valuable today. We'll
yeah. Let me
just,
pull a stock image of some
yeah, a
fireworks.
stock image and a happy Halloween, or a stock image and a,
Yeah,
you know, whatever, pick it, Memorial Day, Labor Day, 4th of July, it's like all it's like dress down Friday for social media managers.
yeah, and I think companies would be much better served figuring out a way instead of just putting up like the standard happy 4th of July, happy Halloween. Like there's a better way to do it, and I think because and in my mind just goes the pressure washing industry because that's what I know. Like on 4th of July, why not put up a 2.5 minute video about how to clean um, firework marks off of driveways. Like teach a homeowner, hey, you've got all these like burn marks on your driveway. Here's a product you can use to clean it off real quick because tomorrow's going to be bad. Or hey, it's Halloween. Let's talk about how to remove egg from siding because that's probably going to happen to some of our
Right.
customers. Or I think there's ways that you can integrate education instead of just putting out these blanket waste of time things. Or and that goes back to the same like the best in Seattle on your website. Like, why are you wasting time like that? Those precious few seconds or precious few minutes that your customers are going to hold on to your site or your video on something that's meaningless. Instead, build that relationship or teach them something and
So
let
let's
them trust you more.
let's actually go back and let's retell this scenario when you're doing it right, because this is where the real benefit is, right? And I think this is very
Mm-hmm,
tangible. So option A, someone goes to Google, they type in Seattle carpet cleaner, you've done your homework, your SEO is good, you're in the first
mm-hmm,
3 or 4 results, they click on your website, and now you get 20 seconds to convince them to sell. So you've
mm-hmm,
got to engineer your message to convince them that you're reputable, that you do what they want, that you have the right service, that you service the right area. that you're going to do it for the right price, that you have good value, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? It's a very long checklist.
Hmm.
And you better believe they're going to look elsewhere. So you have to do that knowing that I've got to compare to other people who are using the same tactics, right? They all have the same Google widget, right? That says how many 5-star ratings they have, right? They're all
Hmm.
going to have a testimonial on the website. They're all going to say these things, right? So we're competing in this space, and they've got a stain on their carpet, and all they really care about is, are you going to come when they can be there off from work and it's not going to be too expensive, or whatever it is that they care about, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Or is it somebody that I can trust inside my house? Like that's
Exactly.
probably,
Like,
yeah, number
can I
one.
try?
Yeah.
And so you have to, one, look across the aggregate of your customers and maybe cover a myriad of issues, because some people may be like, I want you to come quick. Some people may want to believe that you can get out really, you can refresh really garbage carpet and make it look good again. Some people are just worried about having a stranger in their home, and
Hmm.
depending on the client, you're gonna have to trust his. You got 20 seconds.
Hmm.
So let's replay this. This is why education matters. But let's say you've focused your marketing around education,
Hmm.
around being visible in the places where people are when they're not ready to buy. And you've educated the client on how to keep their carpet good and
Yeah.
this,
How to
that, and the
clean
other, right? Like I don't know a
kid
lot about
slime out of
carpet
carpet.
good, right?
Yeah.
You've educated them on all these things, maybe around this. Maybe you have given them other information, other DIY information. Maybe you've done co-branded content with other people who are in the home services industry, right? Maybe you've been on
Hmm.
different kinds of area podcasts. Maybe you've been at local events, whatever it is, right? You spent all this time like, how do I position myself as a trustworthy, valuable member of the industry? So like, I've demonstrated that I know what I'm talking about because I help people all the time. I am visible in all these other areas that say that I'm trustworthy. I've made sure that I've educated the market on like how we do business. You've done all these things ahead of time. So when it comes time to do business, even if they look at other carpet cleaners, they're already biased towards you. You've
Hmm.
already established that you're a good option, which means when they go to your website, the things that you have to communicate to them are totally different.
Right.
What they're going to be looking for is, what does it look like for us to do business together? Is this
Hmm.
inside of my budget? Does this fit my schedule? How do I move forward?
Hmm.
And they're going to be a little bit more patient because you've already done the work ahead of time. So now my website serves a totally different purpose because I'm bringing clients there who already know, like, and trust me, who already see me as an authority in the space, who already see me as a reputable business. And so then now I can focus my website on the next part of education, which is, how do we do business together?
Hmm.
Now, it's a totally different scenario, but when we think about these things, the common thing is we think about them all independently of each other. And my suggestion, this is like one of the things we advocate, is, why would we just do what everyone else is doing and try to compete on how many reviews we have, and are we clever on the website? Did we get do we test every little piece to to death, and like,
Hmm.
in like, our SEO is the best and our pay per click, we spend the most money on it, and we're doing all these things, right? And we're relying on this very competitive, very commoditized type approach versus investing that time out front. So when it comes time to buy, there is no competition.
Hmm. Do you think that is the same process a like B2B company should go through as
Of
well
course it
as like a
is.
contractor? Yeah.
Of course it is. And it comes down to, and in a B2B company, it's more important,
Hmm.
because instead of a local Google business listing being the primary way that people discover things they don't already know, in B2B, they're 100% reliant on industry professionals to give them
Hmm.
strong referrals. So education in the B2B world becomes a way to build up your reputation around the industry. This is the big difference, is, in my opinion, if you educate a group of 100 professionals, right? Whether
Hmm.
they are ever customers or not, you can assert yourself as enough of an expert that they will say, you know, I've been paying attention to so and so, and I'm really impressed with what they're doing. You should check that out. And that's less likely going to happen from a non-customer in a B2C relationship, right? They're not going to say, hey, you know, I've been watching this carpet cleaner on Facebook. You should use.
There are some, there are some like that, I know,
Likely
but
that
yeah.
usually happens after the purchase. In
Hmm.
B2B, it can happen before. There are plenty of companies and leaders that I tell other business owners about, and I've never done business with them because I'm not a customer, but they have proven themselves to be authorities and leaders in their space. And so it's a way for me to give value to my relationships by pointing them to these people.
Hmm.
Thought leadership matters in B2B even more.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree. I think like looking at my last few years of trying to integrate, and we were technically we were B2B. My role was more of like somehow B2C through ways of a distributor that I had no control over. Like there was a weird like blurred line in there for
Yeah,
me. But
yeah. And selling to contractors is an interesting relationship because
mhm,
it's different. It's different
right,
than just true B2B, but that yes, they are businesses and they do make money with the things that they buy, even though they consume a lot of them. But yes, go ahead.
right. Yeah,
It,
there's a weird blurred line in there.
it
But
is a
I
weird
think,
blurred line.
yeah, I think what I found was there was so much value in building those relationships and focusing on the education and doing all these things instead of just trying to, hey, let me direct everyone to our website. Let me direct everyone to our website. Let me get these sales. Let me get these sales, and let me push out whatever. And the value came in the building of those relationships, the talking with people, the hearing what their problems is, to figure out what their problem is so that I know if my solution is the solution for them. And if it's not, let me help you figure out who that is. So when you do have my problem, I've got the answer for you. And yeah, I think certainly with what I have seen in distributors also is, yeah, they want the the education, they want all of it just as much as their customers do. And it it only benefits me to be the person who educates them. And if they're coming to me for education, then they're coming for me to equipment. And that was kind of my view on it as I was integrating myself into some of these networks of people and into some of these forums and our YouTube presence and all the things. Is I want to be a resource before I want to be a source. And so yeah, I want to be there as a resource for them that they can come to, they can get information, I can help them with their problems. And then when they need a source of equipment or they need a source of whatever, then hey, I'm already in their network, have them come and talk to me about it.
You know, you and I talk a lot about creating mutual alignment, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we all want to do business with companies and people who have mutually aligned interests to ours. You're not going to be able to accomplish that in an ad or on a website when it comes time to buy. If that's the
Mm-hmm.
first time someone interacts with you, you're not going to be able for them to determine that your interest and their interest, that you winning and them winning are the same. That can only happen with time. And at the end of the day, you have this opportunity to build connections with people by being a valuable resource, by educating them. And whether you're the one educating them or you are connecting them, you don't even have to be the primary source. You can be a conduit, right? Like you could
Right.
host a podcast that brings other educators in front of them. You become the person, like your mission is like, I want to inform my clients. You might be like, you know what, there's only so much I can talk about, but there's so many people that we do business with that we're aligned with. And it's like, they all need to share things with my customers. So it's like, you can do this in a way that can, and the benefits of that like boomerang back the other direction too. Like you get the clients of the educators who are coming to educate as well, is you
Hmm.
can assert yourself as somebody who's mutually aligned with their best interests. And that is so powerful, right? Like
Yeah.
that creates a tremendous amount of trust. And I think we have to think more holistically in this whole, how do we operate in the market? How do we view education and advertising? Because if we don't, we're going to be a commodity. And I want to finish this up. I know that we're about running out of time. I have a thought here I wanted to share. I recently read Sam Walton's book, and Walmart always gets labeled as very much a commodity business, right? Like their success was they were the lowest prices.
Hmm.
And but the story is a lot deeper than that. And I mean, I think that should be obvious to people, although I
Right.
don't think
Yeah. It's
people
a
really give it thought.
giant company.
Of
Right. Yeah.
But when Sam Walton was at the helm, even for Walmart, it was all about connection. It was all about relationships. For him, the success came because as they grew from being a small town retailer who became a small town discount store, who became a regional discount chain, who by his death were the largest retailer on earth,
Hmm.
they never stopped focusing on the relationship and the mutual alignment between them and the associates that worked at the store, all the way down to the individual person who was standing at a cash register. Their interest was Walmart's interest. And as long as he was at the helm, that was the case. And it created this glue among this company that was employing tens of thousands of people that gave them a culture that allowed them to grow and serve and not lose what they were about. And then by doing that, right? By focusing on those connections and caring about those people, they were able to, instead of bringing in outside management, every town would have local management. And what that would do is when you have local people serving the local customers, they had natural mutual alignment and connection with those customers because they came from the same communities. They understood the community. So whether that was the cultural, ethnic, whatever background that these communities were in, they were able, because of the company culture that came down from the top, to have people who understood and served in those communities and knew how to deal with them. And because of these types of things, they had a what's the word for when stuff goes missing in a retail environment? It's
Like loss.
yeah, but it's whatever you call. It's the word for when stuff gets stolen. Anyway,
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
slippage.
I can
It's
think.
but theirs was like less than half of their
Hmm.
lowest competitor, because the individual associates made it their business. And this was in like really rough neighborhoods. They could be in the roughest neighborhood and they'd still have like less than a half a percent
Hmm.
of this. And
Yeah.
so it really doesn't matter. And this is just, it's just my anecdote here, that as a company leader, when we are focusing on what's going to move the needle, we need to be thinking about it from the lens of the other seat, the other side of the table, and
Hmm.
what's going to make a difference for them. How do they feel about what we do? How does this help them? How does this make an impact? And even though it's advertising and sales, why would you make it devoid of that?
Hmm.
So,
Yeah. No, I agree. The I think my final word on it is probably intentionality. Like you need to understand what your intention is and what you post or what you do or what's on your website. And you need to make sure that you're not just putting up the the Happy 4th of July post, kind of circling back to that. Like, what is the purpose of that? And because what ends up happening is if you show up to a community and, like you said, if you are the outsider and you're trying to break in, just like the Walmart example, if you bring in outside management and they're coming into this community they know nothing about and trying to push sales in this direction or do this or say this product's best for this community, they're not going to know. And so I think you need to integrate in a way that shows, hey, first we belong to this community and here's why. And I think education is a great way to do that. And what it does is it opens the door to showing your part, showing you just like them, and you're just like the people you're trying to buy to, so that they are drawn to you. And if I just show up with Happy Halloween, then who cares? That does nothing to build my relationship in that community. But instead, if I say, hey, here's something I know that you struggle with over this holiday, here's a solution for it, then what that does is it starts to bridge that gap into being a part of that community. And I think that's what it's all about. And that's what I hear you saying too, is it is about creating like authentic relationship alignment, whatever the word you may want to use, in order to become integrated in the community so that you can better serve them instead of just taking a guess at, hey, they need this, so let's go sell it to them.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And, it's, we could all use in our businesses a little bit higher dose of empathy driving our marketing message, our content, our social, our whatever. You know, looking at things through the lenses of our clients, or looking at things through the lenses of our distributors, or looking at things through the lenses of our partners and our vendors, and saying, how can I position myself as an invaluable resource? Education's a great way to do it,
Yeah,
you know. So I think that's a great episode. I know I think we stayed on topic. I think we stayed on
I think
topic
so.
during
Yeah.
that. But yeah, it's a lot of fun, and we'll continue this conversation. It's as we talk about it, it spins up so many things. My wheels are turning so fast at this moment. I'm like struggling to stay present in the conversation because my brain is going down all these paths
Yeah.
of how all this connects into building a larger strategy.
Well,
So I hope you
I
found
think,
value in it. Make sure to
yeah.
subscribe to us. Like we want it. We want to interact. If you have any questions, drop them below. Any final thoughts, Ron?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think as far as where this conversation goes, you much earlier when we were talking, you mentioned becoming a thought leader. I think that may be maybe the next valuable thing that people should tune back into, is that I think the next direction this conversation should go along the lines of, how do you go from joining a network to being an educator to being a thought leader to growing your business, to how do we scale up, and what does that like look like in the grand scheme of business and marketing and sales.
I think that sounds great. As usual, you are on topic. Love it.
Yeah,
Absolutely. And I look forward to continuing the conversation with you, Ron.
sounds good.